Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. You wake up, not in your room, not in your bed, but on a frozen, endless plain. The ground beneath you is solid ice. The wind is howling so loudly it almost feels alive, like it's hunting you. You take a breath, and it burns your lungs. Not metaphorically, actually burns. The air is so cold, it hurts just to exist. This is Earth, over 20,000 years ago, during the Pleistocene Ice Age. And if you were there, you probably wouldn't last a single day. Because the Ice Age wasn't just cold, it was brutally, relentlessly hostile to life. Massive ice sheets dominated the planet. Imagine entire continents buried under glaciers that were not just meters thick, but kilometers thick. In places, the ice rose higher than mountains. Regions that are now green forests or busy cities were once completely unrecognizable, crushed under frozen weight. Temperatures regularly dropped below -40 degrees Celsius. That's colder than most places on Earth today, even colder than parts of Antarctica. And unlike modern winters, this wasn't seasonal, this was constant. Generations lived and died without ever knowing what true warmth felt like. Oceans themselves shrank. So much water was trapped in ice that sea levels dropped dramatically, over 100 meters. Entire new lands appeared, including the Bering Land Bridge, a frozen pathway connecting Asia and North America. Humans and animals crossed it, not because they wanted adventure, but because survival forced them forward. But the cold wasn't the only killer. The wind made everything worse. Freezing storms could last for days, even weeks. Snow buried anything that stood still too long. And if you were exposed, just for a few minutes, frostbite would begin its slow destruction. First your fingers, then your toes, then everything else. Now, imagine trying to survive in that. You're hungry. You haven't eaten properly in days. There were no supermarkets, no farms, no easy food. Every calorie you get, you have to fight for. Hunting in this environment wasn't just difficult, it was deadly, because you weren't alone out there. The Ice Age was home to creatures that feel almost mythical today, giants that ruled the frozen world. The woolly mammoth roamed the plains, massive, powerful, covered in thick fur, with tusks that could grow longer than a human is tall. Hunting one was like trying to take down a moving tank with primitive weapons. Then there was the saber-toothed tiger, silent, precise, built for one thing: killing. Its long, dagger-like teeth weren't just for show. One ambush, one perfect strike, and it was over. And if that wasn't enough, packs of dire wolf roamed the land. Larger and more powerful than modern wolves, they hunted in coordinated groups. If they decided you were prey, there was almost nowhere to run. This wasn't a world where humans were dominant. We were weak, slow, fragile. We didn't have claws. We didn't have thick fur. We didn't have natural weapons. What we had was intelligence. And even that barely kept us alive. Early humans had to adapt in ways that seem almost unimaginable today. They wore animal skins, not for style, but because without them, they would freeze to death in minutes. They built shelters from whatever they could find: ice, stone. Even the bones of animals they hunted. In some regions, entire homes were constructed using mammoth bones, covered with hides to block out the wind. It wasn't comfortable, it wasn't safe, but it was enough, sometimes. Fire became the line between life and death. Losing your fire in the Ice Age wasn't an inconvenience, it was a death sentence. Keeping it alive meant everything. People guarded it constantly, fed it carefully, protected it from wind and snow like it was the most valuable thing in existence. Because it was. And then there was the hunting. Imagine standing with a small group of people facing a creature 10 times your size. You're holding a spear, your hands are shaking, not just from fear, but from the cold. One wrong move, one slip, and you don't just fail the hunt, you become the hunted. Coordination was everything. Humans had to work together, plan attacks, use terrain to their advantage. Sometimes they drove massive animals into traps or off cliffs. It was dangerous, exhausting, and often unsuccessful. Failure meant starvation, and starvation in the Ice Age was slow and brutal. Your body weakens, your energy disappears, you can't stay warm anymore, and in a world where warmth is survival, that's the beginning of the end. But even the strongest couldn't always survive. The Ice Age drove countless species to extinction. Creatures that had ruled the Earth for thousands of years suddenly found themselves unable to adapt. Changing climates, shrinking habitats, lack of food, and the growing presence of human hunters all combined into a perfect storm. The giants began to disappear. The mammoths, gone. The saber-toothed predators, gone. Entire ecosystems, erased. It wasn't a single event, it was a slow collapse, a world unraveling over thousands of years. And yet, somehow, humans endured. Not because we were the strongest, not because we were the fastest, but because we adapted, we learned, we cooperated, we survived conditions that should have wiped us out completely. Every warm house you sit in today, every meal you eat without thinking, every winter you complain about, it's nothing compared to what they faced. The Ice Age wasn't just a period of history, it was a test of endurance, of intelligence, of survival against impossible odds. And the truth is, if you were dropped into that world today, without modern tools, without technology, without preparation, you wouldn't just struggle, you wouldn't last. So next time you feel cold, next time you think the weather is unbearable, remember this frozen world where the air itself could kill you, where every day was a fight and every night could be your last. Because that was Earth at its most brutal. And somehow, we made it through.